We heard about people flipping houses years ago, and a lot of those people ended up in the hole after the housing bubble burst.
Big time.
Yeah, huge. And joining us right now is Sidney Potter, who's written a book called The Flip, a true life story about how a successful new Tract home investor went from zero to hero back to zero. And Sidney, were you one of the victims of the housing burst?
I would say I was definitely one of the victims. I probably doing as well as anyone can do in terms of being a recovering real estate investor addict, but everything's not as bad as it seems.
Well, now, it was a big, big time. So many people. I mean, I had friends that were doing it with one or two houses, and, of course, you were doing it on a pretty large scale, right?
Right, that's correct. It indeed was a business, over 50 homes.
Oh, yeah, that's serious. So you end up getting stuck with 50 homes, I guess, with the bubble having collapsed that aren't worth what you paid for them, right?
Well, that's partially correct, but partially incorrect. Just to let you know, this is over a 5-year period from 2002 to 2007. Most of those homes, out of the 45, I made money on, actually. It was just some of the improper allocation of resources towards the last 5 or 6 and ill-conceived timing that put my business model in the red, I suppose you can say.
So you lost it all?
With the exception of my car and the clothes on my back, just about everything ended up on Craigslist.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a true crash and burn, if there ever was one.
Now, do you see this kind of a practice resuming again as the market begins to recover, as housing prices begin to accelerate again?
Well, if we can think of it in two ways, the REO market in terms of flipping is certainly alive and well. Those are older homes. In terms of new Tract homes, that's certainly come to almost a standstill. I've been out there kicking the dirt in Phoenix and Las Vegas, so it's still out there, but just in a more modified term and format, and this is more reactionary in terms of where the market is. So it's certainly out there. You don't see the appreciation curves like you used to, but in terms of the methodology and on new Tract homes and the advantages of buying them, that's certainly alive and well, but just not at the point it used to be.
Let's say Jack and I were interested in flipping. How do we start?
Do your research. Great thing about it, there's lots of top 10, top 25 lists, especially when you look at in terms of real estate markets, when you look at the sand states, Arizona, Nevada, California, and Florida. There's wonderful online sites that give you an idea of where to go and indicate the appreciation markets. You just want to make sure you're not in the 8th or 9th inning as opposed to 3rd or 4th when you're getting in there.
Yeah. And, I would think today you got all of that competition because of foreclosures, that would seem to be where the real market is today.
There's no doubt about that. And I make the distinction between REO markets, but with the robo-signer issue now affront upon us with unclear title, and I spoke of that even before robo-signers even became an issue. The distinction between new house and old homes are similar to stepping on a used parking lot versus a nice, bright, shiny, new, not even pre-owned car lot in terms of the risk there. So that's why you find some investors, such as myself, attracted towards that new product as opposed to the old product because there's less issues. You don't have clouded title.
Yeah, and like you say, it's shiny and new, and it is mighty attractive, and somebody's going to want it.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And, and just to add, I was out in Riverside, California, one of the hardest hit markets 2 weeks ago. KB Homes, for example, has this new marketing called Built to Suit, and you didn't see that years ago. And what that means is, unlike commercial properties, they've got a long build-out of anywhere from 12 to 18 months. That actually might be more ideal in terms of at least hoping for some type of appreciation curve to park your money in terms of deposits are concerned.
Yeah, and it's got to. I'm certainly not at the accelerated level it was before the bust occurred, but certainly at a lower level and an investment level, I'm sure.
Right. Well, and it depends what markets. I mean, this is Tampa Bay, for example. There's a delineation there. You've got North Tampa and South Tampa. The condo markets are slightly different compared to St. Petersburg. So real estate is very much all local. Washington, Langley, Virginia are on that swing. They've appreciated anywhere from 15 to 18% over the last 12 to 15 months. So it's in San Francisco is good. So it really depends. When we hear about the top 20 markets really at a standstill, and that's what the NAR, or that's the National Association of Realtors report, or some of the news pundits, it's fairly gloomy. You've got to keep in mind there's over close to 400 markets, sub-markets in this country. So it really does make a difference.
How do you get around those can't sell clauses?
Those are tricky. And to put it as simple as possible, you've got options that are typically in a contract, and it depends whether or not you execute that option. A can't sell clause will make it nearly impossible for a buyer to get out of a piece of real estate. However, there's traumatic economic causes, bankruptcy, divorce, death, job transfer, as simple as it may sound, that's codified into an addendum on the purchase agreement. In the event that one of those events are triggered, it's almost an escape clause, if you will, for the particular buyer investor to leave an investment.
Well, it's a complex issue, but it is simplified considerably in The Flip, a true life story of how a successful new Tract home investor went from zero to hero, back to zero. And the website is theflip.tv, and we'll link it up on our webpage at 970WFLA.com. Sidney Potter, thanks for joining us on AM Tampa Bay.
Thank you, Sidney.